I just want to welcome everybody to IE, Inform, Elevate, Inspire, Engage. That's our title, and those are our goals. This is episode 6, Honoring Older Adults. Today, we're doing Honoring Older Adults, and our schedule is as follows. And we're going to have someone from Alma Movement, a panel presentation with Karen and Judith, Margery and Samantha from Better Together, Benny Lande, who just won a $1,500 prize to put together his program, Friendship Delivered, and then we'll bring it home with our friends from Repair the World. We also have a game show today. We've never done a game show, so we're excited about that, doing that game show with you all in just a moment. We have our Spotify playlist, so every webinar has a Spotify. Please check that out and follow Aesthetic America on Spotify. Today's webinar is sponsored by Legacy Heritage Foundation's Better Together program, and your synagogue or school or community can participate with Legacy Heritage Foundation's Better Together program. So our game show, ready? I'm going to use my game show voice. I'm wearing this hat on purpose. My grandpa Ben, who's no longer with us, may his memory be a blessing, wore this Greek fisherman's hat all the time. And so today is honoring older adults. And I wanted to honor my grandpa Benedict because he wore this hat. And so I'm wearing this hat in his honor. All right, you ready for the game show? Thumbs up if you're ready for a game show. Do we have 3 contestants, Sasha?
We have 2 contestants.
Okay, brave 2 contestants. Hi, Sam. Where are you from?
I am from Sacramento, California.
Okay, so, and hi, tell us your name, where you're from.
Hi, my name's Julia. I am from Issaquah, Washington.
Very nice, welcome. This game show, thanks for being brave, I appreciate it. This game show is called Product, Rock Band, or Both. You each get to answer. Okay, ready? Gleam. Julia, product, rock band, or both?
I'm gonna have to go with both.
All right, I appreciate your answer. Sam, what do you say?
I want to say just product.
Just product? Okay, ready? Gleam is a toothpaste. Gleam was a toothpaste marketed by Procter & Gamble Company. Gleam was formerly a brand of toothpaste. Discontinued in 1914. No, not 1914, 2014. All right. Thank you. This is one of my favorite rock groups. I might have just thrown you off, or one of my favorite products, Betsy Wetsies. The Betsy Wetsies. All right, Sam, you go first this time.
I feel like it's so wild it has to be both. I just think that's it's a very fun, I feel like it'd be a very fun product name, but also just a rock band. I feel like someone would come up with that and just it'd be some random rock thing. So why not both? Okay,
we got both. Julia, what do you say?
I'm gonna say just rock band.
Just rock band. You guys are incredible. You're so brave. Thank you for doing this. Ready? Betsy Wetsy was a drink and wet doll originally issued by the Ideal Toy Company of New York in 1934. Is one of the most popular dolls of its kind in post-World War II era. So I have all their albums. No, it was just a product. All right. All right. Do we have time for one more? All right, here we go. Thanks you guys are the best.
Thank you.
I want to hang out with you later. Here we go. Betamax. All right, Julia, you're going first.
Both.
Both.
I have no idea. Both.
I think there's a theme going on here potentially.
Okay.
So we're gonna go with just product.
Just product. I love a pattern thinker like you. It is both. Betamax was around. It was actually a better brand than VHS before DVD players, and it's evidently also the name of an 80s band. Fancy. Thank you so much for playing, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so why did we bring this up? We're honoring older adults today, and it's really something for us to think about how life has changed over a period of time. And it's like being in a culture while the culture is changing, and that can present challenges. How our society treats older adults is a social justice issue, and that's important for us to think about. And I'm gonna cruise through this, and I'm not gonna do it justice. But how our society treats older adults is a social justice issue. And while I'm talking about this, please answer the poll. Does one of your grandparents live with you, or have they lived with you? Engagement and purpose. Ageism is a real thing. You've heard of racism, you've heard of sexism. Ageism is a real thing. You need to be aware of that. When it comes to hiring, when it comes to how people are treated in social situations, what is provided for people, whether it's mobility issues, which is on there. Financial wellness is an issue in our society. Daily living and lifestyle. The majority of older adults want to age in place, which means living at home, not going to an older center. But 65, many people need assistance. Being prepared for caregiving, care coordination, brain health. All these are really important issues that our society doesn't fully address. And we're going to focus on one thing in particular today: social isolation. I'm going to share these results. You can see that 21% of you have had a grandparent or live with you, or has lived with you at some point in time. Social isolation is a real issue and also kills. It accelerates buildup of plaque, of arteries, helps spread cancer, spread inflammation to the brain, can lead to Alzheimer's, leads to wear and tear of the body. And this is all social isolation. And I don't think I even tackled the emotional, psychological challenges with social isolation, and the statistics of people who live alone. Their increase in mortality is more than 25% if you live alone versus living with other people. So why don't teenagers want to get involved with older adults? Why do they want to distance themselves? We took a survey of 100 people. This is Family Feud style. And some teenagers said that older adults were judgmental and they didn't want to feel judged by them. Older adults are closer to death, and younger teenagers wanted to avoid that topic. Teenagers said that they felt that they weren't comfortable being themselves around older adults. They felt that they weren't fully connected to the older adults, and the older adults weren't connected to them. They were worried that political beliefs were so different of older adults and them that they didn't want to hang out with someone with such different political beliefs. Memory loss. It's very uncomfortable for me to be around someone with memory loss. And ageism, like, I just want to distance myself. And that's a theme we see with many of our social justice topics. I want to distance myself from somebody else, whether it's someone has a drug problem, or someone is experiencing homelessness, or I don't want to admit that one day that could be me, or that is someone in my family. I just want to distance myself from that, so I avoid it altogether. And God willing, we all will be older adults one day. God willing, we will be. And that's something to think about. So I'm going to very quickly just say we're going to Jew it up a little bit, because this is a Jewish, webinar. So that's the Hebrew Hammer. If you haven't seen that movie, I suggest don't watch it, but it does exist. And I do like the graphic. So the Jewish law that thou shalt not teleport to school, you must take the bus, right? You're familiar with that Jewish law. It's in Jewish Laws R Us 23b. Obviously, that's not a Jewish law. And the point is that you don't need a law if people aren't breaking it, right? There's no law about teleporting to school. There's no rule in your school about teleporting to school or not, because no one's breaking that rule. So why do you need a rule about taking care of elderly? Because people are not doing it. So you need a rule. And in Judaism, we have a rule. We have a law about that, which says it is our job. It's commandment. This is one of those Bible commandments. We have to honor the elderly. And this beautiful story talks about if you remember, Moses had 15 tablets and then one broke. No, wait, that's just something different. But he had 10 tablets, and Moses got really angry, and Moses threw them down onto the ground and they broke. Then he had to go up the mountain, and he waited another 40 days, and then he got new tablets. I really condensed a long story, but the point is they kept the broken tablets with the newer tablets. We don't discard the broken tablets. And our society likes to just throw things away. And Judaism says you don't get to throw it away just because it's broken, just because it's old. We keep them together. We have something to learn from everybody. And hopefully you all can go into this text more deeply. And it's on the source sheet that we'll be sending to educators as well. But this is what do you keep around that's broken? And I'm not saying older adults are broken. Let's be clear. I'm not communicating that. But we we don't just discard people from our society. And this parable is telling us about that. I rushed through all of that, and we're just trying to make things happen. Hopefully you will talk more about the Jewish educational component in your smaller groups when you meet later. We're going to bring on our first guest. She is a dance movement therapist and a mental health counselor, born in Miami, Florida. She grew up very involved in a multicultural Latin Jewish community, and she is the operations manager and facilitator for Alma Movement, where she creates intergenerational programs using movement, dance, and art to bridge the connection. I'm going to ask for you to turn on your cameras for our guest. Her name is Rebecca. Please come to the stage. It's so nice to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is obviously a topic that's, really relevant and important to me. And so I love to always connect it to also the, Jewish law and Jewish lifestyle and community. So I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. And where are you today?
In Miami, where I was born and raised. I'm in Miami.
So you grew up in Miami and in a Jewish family, but your grandparents, while you were living in Miami, your grandparents were both in Peru and Guatemala. By the way, Tzedek America does social justice trips to Guatemala post-COVID. Let us know if you're interested. And I'm sure that had an effect on you. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like I said, I really grew up with a very tight-knit, multicultural Latin Jewish community. So community was always a big part of my life and important to me. But unfortunately, because there were a lot of immigrants, it meant that a lot of our grandparents, especially mine, were in different countries. And so there wasn't Zoom or FaceTime growing up. And so it was a lot harder to connect or see them. And it was, it was really sad because I felt really distant from them physically, but also emotionally, because I didn't really get to build this connection with them. So it was interesting how I always felt like there was this missing piece, but I don't think until later I realized, what that really was and how big.
And in high school, you loved music and dance and psychology. So how did you decide what to study in college?
Yeah,
we have a lot of juniors and seniors here with us who are trying to figure out what they want to study.
Yeah, so I was also a senior in high school at one point, and they kind of tell you like, okay, you're going to go to college, you have to figure out what you want to do with your life. And you're like, okay, what do I want to do? And some people do know. I personally wasn't one of those people. I don't think that's an easy question, even when at 26, like, what do you want to do with your life? So I was really faced with this question, and I kind of took the route of like, okay, I'm going to explore different things that are interesting to me. Like I grew up dancing. I was a dancer, but I also always loved psychology. And finally I came to the point where I was like, I don't want to decide. I kind of want to do both.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of investigated and found this thing called dance movement therapy that allowed me to do both psychology and also dance and movement. And so what that is just like being a regular therapist, only you get to move and dance and listen to music in sessions, which sounded way more fun to me. So I took that route.
So you studied all of that in college?
Yeah, well, you have to, in order to be a dance movement therapist, you have to go get your master's in it. So I actually specialized in that for my master's. Undergrad, I did psychology and film because I wanted that, creative element. But it wasn't until I was able to do it in my master's program where I was really able to specialize in that.
And somehow you made your way to Alma Movement, and you're representing Alma Movement today. And tell us a little bit about Alma Movement and how you got there.
Yeah, so I get to my master's program, and it was kind of a similar question where they ask you, what population do you want to work with? And since I really never was so exposed to like an older adult population, I wasn't close to my grandparents. I was used to growing up with like people my age. And I always said, I like working with younger kids. So that's what I said to them. Can I work with younger kids? That's the population I want to work with.
Comfort level, right?
What?
That was your comfort level.
That was my comfort level. That's what I knew. So that's all I felt comfortable with. And that's what I wrote off as like, that's what I want to do. And lo and behold, they put me in a psychiatric hospital with only older adults. So here I am, I'm like, okay, wait, I said I wanted to work with a younger population, and now they put me with the complete opposite. And, it was a little unsettling because I think that's what comes up when we get out of our comfort zone. And I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to work. And 6 months later, it was the best experience of my life. I gained like 15 like remote grandparents that honestly, working with that population, I just kind of that hole that I felt I was missing when I was growing up, like I understood why, and it kind of filled me. And I just got so many memories and so much advice and perception, and like just so much out of being with that population that gave me such a shift from what I just knew into a whole new world. And I said, then again, I was like, okay, now I'm going into the working world. I'm done with my master's. Who do I want to work with? And I didn't want to choose between the two. So I said, I need to find a place where I can work with a younger generation and an older population. And miraculously, I got introduced to Alma, and which is literally a nonprofit that creates intergenerational programming using movement and music therapy to build that connection. So that's kind of how I got introduced to Alma. And it was like such a fun surprise for me that there was something out there that I could do everything that I loved in one.
So I know Tzedek America has participated with Alma Movement and done art and dance therapy in elder care facilities. And they also have this very cool thing where they have the silent rave, silent disco headphones, and they put them, everybody's wearing them and they're all dancing, and they can control the volume. Everybody can control their own volume and dance. And they have these basically silent dance parties in elder care facilities, which is incredible. Tell me how you all have pivoted during COVID.
Yeah, so I kind of got into Alma in the midst of all of this when already there was so much isolation and loneliness with older adults. And then all of a sudden, the whole world was experiencing it, and especially the older population. So I came in, and the team was really working on programming that could be virtual, and we can still do the work, but through Zoom or through virtual, because we can't get into nursing homes anymore. And that's only creating more isolation and more loneliness. So we created what's called a Life Together, which is like virtual programming. And one of them is Dance Pals, which is what you mentioned. Like we basically Zoom in. I think that's what you might have done, is Zoom into the nursing homes, and the older people have their kind of silent disco headsets where they can hear us and they can hear the music, and it's super cool. But we actually are now promoting, and in April, we're going to do a different one called Student to Senior, which is a 6-week program that brings students and seniors together. And basically each week we discuss really important topics like aging, belonging, empathy, creativity, and play. And we use dance and movement and music as a way to like another level of experiencing those topics and expressing ourselves through that and connecting with the topics in not just a talking form, but also through our creativity and through movement and music. And each student gets their own senior buddy, which is like the best part of it. And each session you get to go in a breakout room with your buddy, and you kind of just get to form this one-on-one relationship with them, which is like so awesome and fulfilling. Everyone has had such a good experience with it. And we also like to really support these connections. So we give all the students and senior pairings, we give them like questions and activities to do in their breakout rooms so that, it feels comfortable. And like a lot of, like you mentioned, like a lot of younger generations, their biggest complaint is like, I feel like they're judging me, and all these barriers and then they get into these breakout rooms, and that all of those seem to disappear. And we, facilitate that with, I guess, the questions and the activities, and it seems to really help the connections, and people get a lot out of it. So it's been
Beautiful.
great.
And these students here could try to be part of that program if they wanted?
Yeah, so we're recruiting now because it's starting April 29th to June 3rd. It's 6 weeks. And for Pacific time, it'll be 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and Eastern time, 3 to 5 p.m. And we're recruiting students and seniors. So if you have grandparents or older adults in your lives that may like or benefit from a program like this, or you would like to volunteer, like, please reach out to Avram or myself, because we are currently recruiting and spots are filling up. So it'd be really awesome to have you guys.
Amazing. I'm excited to invite two amazing people to our stage. We have Judith Farber Weissman and Karen Wagener, two people I've known for quite some time. And they are incredible people. And I was thinking of, there's an organization called the Gray Panthers. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but they're really a civil rights organization focusing on aging adults. And the 6 myths about old people: that it's a disease or a disaster, that they are mindless, they are sexless, they are useless, they are powerless, and that they're all alike. And that was one of the things when I was talking to my dad, who's 92, he said, make sure these teenagers know that older adults is not one category. And that's really important. I want them to know that. So speaking of powerful women who are past the age of 30, Judith and Karen, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure is ours. Mine and Karen's.
Speak for yourself, Judith.
Yes. No, Judith can speak for me. Thanks.
Karen, I'd love, and viewing audience, if you could turn on your camera so that Karen and Judith could see you, so they get to see your reactions and faces. And if we'd love for you to ask questions after I have asked a few questions. So I'd love to hear both of you. What is your daily life like? I'll start with Karen.
My daily life over the last year is different than what it would normally be, because we've pretty much been stuck at home and for a long time unwilling to do marketing or any kind of shopping. We have younger friends who've been great about taking my grocery list and bringing us food. The things that I've gotten more involved in over the last year are keeping up with my gardening. I've been doing more reading than I've done since grad school, and I love it. Watching more movies and TV than I ever dreamed I would. That's not necessarily my thing. And cooking, trying new recipes. My husband has a form of dementia, so a lot of my day is being with him, caring for him. He's still pretty capable, but I want to spend a lot of time with him. So that's what it's like. But we've both been vaccinated. We're having our first dinner party with other vaccinated people this Saturday in the house, fancy meal prepared by me. So that's exciting. And our life used to be a lot of socializing, a lot of going to temple, being on committees at temple, and taking a lot of trips, particularly around the West Coast into California and Oregon. So we're hoping that very shortly we will resume that. And as you can see from my background, we were in the high desert last year to see the poppies.
Yeah, beautiful. Judith, what's your daily life like?
I'm a systems person. So in or out of COVID, I seem to gravitate to patterns, and of course, at times they vary given life and given situations. For my husband, my life is tempered, I would say right now, or has been for the past 3 years plus, by my husband's illness, and we have caregivers. So I do manage that, and I have a social work background that I never thought I'd use in this manner, but I'm thrilled that I have it. And so my day was similar to Karen's, and at one point I felt like I was being swallowed up. My daily life was being swallowed up with caregiving, and that I needed more. And I've been very involved in a community of elders, of which name is just about to be changed, probably to community of engagement. Yay. Or enrichment. Yes, it's about to be changed, Karen. And I've run that program with a cohort, and we're very socially, social justice oriented, and I jumped back in as the chair because there was a need, and because it uses so many of my skills, and it's satisfying. And it felt like I was just being kind of sucked into this world. It was too small in a sense. And
what was too small?
Pardon?
What was too small?
My world with COVID and the isolation, and we were really playing by the rules. I felt cloistered, and I was being, it was totally, Jerry's my husband's name. I was totally involved in managing Jerry. Now I am managing 65 plus people in terms of programming, in terms of enlightenment, in terms of education. And I feel that I'm able to use even more of my skills and what I love doing. And it makes me better actually with my daily schedule, which is, if you look at it jaundicely, it's from 4 when there's no caregiver, and I'm on and want to be on from 4 until 10 at night. It's our time together for dinner and entertainment and Zooming with family, and watching programs that are put on by the Stryker Center or by the Semel Institute or Judge, or book groups. So
what surprised you most about getting older? Or what is one thing that surprised you about getting older?
This is a second marriage for me, and we've been together for 20 years. And I just thought we would just fade off into the sunset, riding our bikes. And we live at the beach, and those long walks down to the water and walking on the rocks. And I didn't expect, just as I started graduate school at age 70, back east, and my husband was just about to leave me, we had a phone call from his doctor, and and I said, I won't do this, I'm coming home. And it was back east. And he said, no, let's just see how this unfolds, because that's the kind of human being he is. I was ready to throw it away because I was in terror anyway about school. And then I was doubly, traumatized basically by the fact that he was, this was his first illness. And so that was 2014. And so that was a big surprise, that we wouldn't just, the fantasy, I guess I held the fantasy of aging in place, as you stated before, and having a wonderful, I don't know, that we would just cuddle up and go to sleep, and someday our life would be over. But it wouldn't be thinking on purpose on how to feel grateful for each day, to whittle it down to the moment, the day, the experience, instead of looking at a whole arc of a picture, which didn't put me in a good place. I needed to regroup myself and figure out the benefits of the moment. And that's what I do and we do together, and it keeps changing, and it doesn't stay the same. And we just do it and find the moments.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for willing to be vulnerable with us, so we can learn from you as we are all going through this challenging time. I see some hearts on the screens of some of our viewers sending you love. Karen, how do systems in our society neglect you or older adults that you've seen, experienced?
I don't find it systemic necessarily. I know when I turned 65, I said, thank God for Medicare. And now that I'm 75, I really have to say, thank God for Medicare. That may be the most wonderful thing to help seniors in their daily lives. And so that's a systemic thing that I like. What I don't like is feeling patronized, particularly by younger people. I don't like it if I haven't been in a restaurant for a year, but you know, when you go out to a restaurant or a store and some cute young person calls me sweetie, that to me is patronizing and not comfortable.
Mm.
And feeling sometimes like I need to apologize for my physical limitations. I think what Judith described about thinking that we were just going to be the older versions of ourselves, sailing into the sunset, I had very much that. I think Tom and I both had that same feeling.
Huh.
And both of us are slower physically. I have some mobility issues on top of it. And I think there are some good things. There are definitely programs like the one Judith described and like what Alma is doing. But aging is not the most comfortable thing. And I have to say, physically not the most comfortable thing. I have to say that my mother, who, blessed memory, lived until she was 92, and she was a pistol. And I want to be in many ways as much like her as I can. And one of the things, she was always judgmental from a very young age. And as she aged, she said, I want to be a good old person. So if she said anything that was judgmental or snippy, I would tell her, you're not being a good old person right now. So I've been working very, very hard on also being a good old person. DJ Wildstyle, I was so excited. I'm sure you saw me singing along and bopping along because all that music was the music of our age. And yet there's a lot of modern music that I love. And if anybody can tell me about an online class for the history of rock and roll, I really realized that's what I need to do, because I was always into Broadway musicals and classical music, still am. But my granddaughter is familiarizing me with all of her, she's 19, with her groups and her musical interests. And she said, do you know who that is? No, but I like it. I mean, there's some that I know. So I really want to take a class in the history of rock and roll so I can, you know, get into the contemporary stuff more.
Well,
I think that our society and the systems are not just about ageism, but also people with mobility issues. I find that sometimes that's a bigger challenge for me. However, it's not insulting if I'm having trouble getting up a curb or navigating something. When somebody says, may I help you, and offers me a hand, I have to say, I am so, so grateful for that. That's not insulting, but don't call me sweetie.
I won't call you sweetie. Lesson learned.
Thank you.
I apologize for any
Sweetie.
other time that I have. Sweetie. We have to wrap up. How have teenagers or younger people been supportive to you during this time? Or how can teenagers be supportive, even if they're not, like if they were members of your synagogue or congregation or members of your family? How can younger teenagers be supportive to you right now?
There are so many things you can do, ranging from being part of an organized program, such as the one that was described. My granddaughter uses the visual arts for social justice. So she's been involved more with drawing and painting and working with people on that. Her friends have been so supportive, and it's just a text message, a phone call, FaceTime. I love FaceTime. But a phone call or a text message or a FaceTime call, her friends have come by just dropping off a snack, or we sit out in the backyard and visit. I think human connection is really important. And I think it's also okay if an older person is making you uncomfortable with judgmentalism. Change is very, very difficult for most people. And when you hit your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, and you've been through all these changes, sometimes it's hard for an older person to relate. But I think there are gentle ways when you can say, hey, please, I feel like you're making me, use your I term, making me feel bad. And, just, I want to be your friend, or I want to be your grandchild, or I want to be whatever it is. And you can do it in a gentle way to keep those relationships going. We talked yesterday at our Minion about what brings light into your world. And the light of my world is not just my granddaughter, but it's her friends. And it's the energy and the intellectual curiosity and the high emotional level that I love being around teens. And they have been the light of my life, certainly for the last year and hopefully into the future. And they'll tell me if I'm being a bad old person.
You're not, Karen. I hope you're not.
I try not.
My best memories of my two aunts, they were sisters, my father's sisters, were around the kitchen table. And kitchen table conversations, I think Karen's talking about that, doesn't matter where, it's the metaphor for just schmoozing, for just being there. And if it's on Zoom, I've got that with my grandson who's back east now in New York in college. And I've got that with a 12-year-old granddaughter, and we draw together on a whiteboard on Zoom every couple of weeks. Love it. And she's, we kind of work in our little corners, and then suddenly we look at the whole gestalt and we say, my God, look at this, and it's just easy and comfortable.
Well, we talk about small, simple acts when it comes to social justice, and you both are bringing up amazing points about small, simple acts. A text, which takes, someone literally 10 seconds to send, or a 20-minute Zoom, or a whiteboard, art class, play date, watch a movie, discuss. These are small, simple acts that really can shatter the glass of social isolation. And I hope that all of our friends here will start to think about ways that they can start to do that. I want to thank you both for coming on. We have a few more speakers that we need to get in. And
thank you.
Thank
you. What a pleasure.
She is the program manager for McCaw's Community High School for Judaic Studies in Bridgeport, Connecticut. They're in their 5th year of Better Together program, which is one of our sponsors today. And they partner with the Bridgeport Jewish Senior Services. Her name is Margery Verlezza. And also, she is a junior in high school in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And this past spring, she worked with the leaders of her Merkaz to create Merkaz Mobile Mitzvot, a vehicle to bring love and joy to the residents and staff of the Jewish Senior Services. And it's been growing and developing initiatives and involvement ever since. Please welcome Samantha Renzulli. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Please tell us, why did you get involved with the Jewish Senior Services?
Absolutely. Well, my involvement with the Jewish Senior Services started in Hebrew school with field trips. And when I continued my Jewish learning into high school with Merkaz Community High School, I signed up for the Better Together class, which every other week I would go to the Jewish Senior Service building, and we would do activities. And on the weeks we weren't there, we were planning our activities. And I got familiar with the residents. I made friends that I saw every other week. And that was how I got involved.
And your religious school is uniquely positioned, right?
We are right down the street. Yeah.
So it's not even like there's also like just that proximity, which makes such a difference.
Absolutely.
Well. And were you nervous at first to work with older adults? As we saw in the very beginning of our webinar, all of the reasons why some teenagers want to distance themselves from older adults.
I don't know if it was overwhelmingly nervous. I was very excited. I had heard of friends that had done this program in the past and said, you have to do better together. You have to do this program. I was really excited. It is nervous to be meeting new people. So maybe that was maybe more of what I was nervous about.
Right. And Margery, what are you seeing with the teens who get involved, what it does for them?
Let me back up a second and let me say that as part of the Better Together class, the kids are taught about what it will be like to be working with these seniors. They're taught about, they put googly glasses on sometimes, some splints on their fingers, and they practice being in wheelchairs so that they are more comfortable when they are going into Jewish Senior Services, which is in essence a nursing home, a long-term care facility. But what I see with these kids, they're tenuous in the beginning of the year, and then something clicks and they find some commonality with the seniors that they're partnering with. All of a sudden they'll have a common interest, whether it be flowers or hats or one boy developed a relationship with a man because the man had been an engineer and the boy was thinking about becoming an engineer. You know, every one of these seniors has a story. And when you get to know someone and you get to know their story, they become your friends.
Beautiful.
So these kids really rise to the occasion.
Yeah, we often talk about how stories change lives, and the fact that everyone has a story, everyone has something to teach, and everyone has something to learn is something that we can remember, especially, and Judaism talks about wisdom and older adults, and when the Torah was passed down to the Jewish people, first they bring the priests, then they brought the elders of the community before they brought it to the general population. I just recently read a story that someone said, because I'm older, I am closer to the original giving of the Torah than you are. I thought that was a funny way to bring it. We have to close up, and we really want to support Better Together. And there's an opportunity for other teenagers to get involved with Better Together through their community. But Samantha, do you still have a relationship with your partner?
Absolutely, yeah. So Merkaz Movement Vote, when we started, we were doing parades around the Jewish Senior Service building. And that was in the spring of 2020, beginning quarantine. And I would see my buddies on the balconies waving to us. I'm Facebook friends with one of my buddies. It's a lovely connection. It's really wonderful.
Amazing. We're going to play a 2-minute video about Better Together. And thank you both for coming on and talking about your important work and for hopefully inspiring some of these communities and teenagers to get involved.
The Better Together program is a movement, pairing thousands of teens and seniors across the United States in community and relationship since 2014. We believe that bringing teens and seniors together is a beginning. Getting to know one another is meaningful. Creating community together is priceless.
Next up, it is off of Bridgeport, where staff and residents at a local nursing home were treated to a parade there. Students from Merkaz Jewish Community High School led a caravan past Jewish Senior Services.
Hey Barbara, it's me. It's your buddy. I miss you a lot. I hope you're staying safe.
I completed my photo wall and this photo wall, and you're in it, of course.
I really do miss our talks and our art projects together.
You're in my heart, and that we're gonna get through this, and that I'm gonna see you very soon.
The people who came yesterday to help deliver the food, all of you who sent your orders in, all of you for just being a part of this endeavor, for agreeing to meet virtually, which I know is new for a lot of us to do anything this way. I am beyond grateful.
The fall is really good.
Yeah.
Shabbat shalom to our senior citizens at Garden of
Shabbat
Palms.
You all look so beautiful. Getting ready for Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I care more about your safety than seeing you physically, so I'm happily talking to you now through this video to keep you safe.
He is a sophomore at Milken Community School who has received a grant from the Julie Barron Platt Teen Innovation Program to create a project called Friendship Delivered to combat loneliness. Please welcome Benny Lande.
Hi everyone, I'm Benny Lande. As you just heard, I'm a sophomore at Milken, and I received a grant for $1,500 from the Julie Barron Platt Teen Innovation Grant to develop a project that I call Friendship Delivered, which combats loneliness during COVID-19 especially. And I got interested in creating this project because I call my grandparents every single day who live on the East Coast, and I haven't been able to see them for a year now. And it's really tough on them and tough on us that we can't see them in person, only virtually. So I thought about this to those people who don't have people who can call them every day. And so I developed a project called Friendship Delivered, where teens and pretty much anyone in the Jewish community calls other seniors in their community to send some friendship and some love their way. So the main way that we kind of form these relationships is using the money that we got. We're going to send little gift baskets and little kind of presents, you could say, to these seniors to help foster and form these relationships, because we know it is challenging to form them over Zoom and virtually. So we're having these little gift baskets to send them. And to make it even easier on the teens who are calling, we're developing a training that's done by the Motion Pictures Television Fund, who asked me to say this one little sentence, which is, this training manual has been customized by Friendship Delivered from the original toolkit training manual, all authored and developed by the Motion Picture and Television Fund. So we're so grateful and so lucky to have them doing this training to make it so much easier on our teens.
Way to go, and congratulations on your award and the important work you're doing. And if other teenagers are interested in partnering with you, we're going to put your email in the chat, but also in the wrap-up email. So thank you so much for coming on. He serves as a program manager at Repair the World, where his goal is to grow the field of Jewish service. He is also the proud alumnus of Repair the World Fellowships. That's something you can do after college, or Avodah Justice Fellowships, also after college. You really did not want to go into the real world, did you? As a certified he's also a certified Brooklyn urban gardener, and he's a big fermentation guy, so we have a lot in common. Please welcome Sam Sittenfeld from Repair the World.
Hey y'all, thanks so much, Avram and Tzedek America folks. Quickly, it's good to talk to you again from Repair the World. As you said, my name's Sam Sittenfeld. I use he and him pronouns. And we're gonna go through sort of some ideas of what you can do to live in your life and act in your life in a way that lives out the values that we've been talking about for honoring older adults. So the first thought is start at home. We heard from some different people. We saw the survey that asked, how often do you talk to older adults in your life? So who are they? Are they family? Are they neighbors? Are they the senior center down the road? Find a regular time on your calendar to connect. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was matched with an older adult. This is my grandmother, so not the person that I've been speaking to on the phone. My grandmother actually passed away about a year ago, right before COVID started. But I was paired with an older adult through a Jewish community that I'm involved with. And we're talking every week. I got her a great Purim package that she got, her Mishloach Manot, last week. And we've never even met in person, but I feel really close to her. And if you don't have older adults in your life, that's okay. You can connect with an organization like the Neighbor Network, which is in the chat, to get connected to an older adult. The Neighbor Network is specifically in New York, so you can check out them if you're in New York or want to meet someone who's from New York, or talk to someone, find a similar organization in your community. The next is Love for Our Elders. This is an organization that supports our elders to combat social isolation, exactly like what we were talking about all of today. It was founded by a young man named Jacob Kramer when he was the same age as many of you, which I love hearing and seeing. It doesn't matter where you are, you can write a letter or record what they call a video letter to send to the Love for Our Elders team, and they will distribute it to their network of over 700 senior communities. And you can level up your game, take it to the next level by organizing your friends and your classmates to write letters on Zoom that they can then send to Love for Our Elders. And similarly, there are many similar organizations across the United States. So maybe look for one that's close to you. And the last one that I wanted to point out is the Vaccine Appointment Network. This is an initiative that we just launched on Thursday at my organization, Repair the World, which is basically in Washington, D.C., some amazing professionals at George Washington University Hillel, which serves college students at George Washington University, and the Edlovich JCC. They created a program to connect tech-savvy people like you, because you're on this webinar, with older adults and others who are having trouble navigating the online vaccine appointment registration system. And so what Repair the World is doing is we are drawing upon sort of the different systems and make it into something that's a package that we can say, here you go, you can start this in your home community, in your youth group, in your high school, in your synagogue. So if you would like to learn more about that, we actually have a new link. It's the same thing, but it's /vaccine, act.werepair.org/vaccine. And yeah, let us know which ones you're most likely to try out.
Sam, thank you so much. And you can learn more about what Repair the World is at their website that we always promote in our wrap-up emails. If at the end of this webinar, you feel inspired to call one of your grandparents, if they're still living, please call them. If you feel inspired to reach out to your synagogue or local community, say, how can I connect with somebody? Please do that. If you feel inspired to connect with Alma Movement or Benny Lande's new initiative, or help with getting older adults the COVID vaccine, please do that. There are so many small, easy steps that you can do to help break the social isolation barriers that are created. And you have really amazing gifts to give to this world. And one of them is just you being you to help make this world a better place. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Avram Mandel, and on behalf of Sandy and Sasha and DJ Wildstyle, of course, who's going to be playing us out, I hope you had an inspiring hour. Have a good night.